You know, when most people hear the name Demi Moore, the first thing that comes to mind is usually her movies, right? Ghost, Indecent Proposal, G.I. Jane. Absolute classics that made her one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. She's glamorous, she's talented, and for decades she's been this larger-than-life figure on the big screen. But if you think her real life was as polished and perfect as those movie roles, well, let me tell you, the truth is far messier and way more complicated than any script she's ever acted in. And that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. Demi Moore's love life isn't just your typical Hollywood story of glitz and romance. It's a roller coaster filled with choices that shocked the world, heartbreaks that broke her spirit, and moments that honestly make you stop and think about how much pressure fame puts on a person. I'm not just talking about rumors and gossip here, I'm talking about real experiences she shared herself, especially in her brutally honest memoir, Inside Out. She didn't hold back, and when you hear some of the things she went through, you start to see a very different picture of who she is and why her relationships turned out the way they did. Now, let's rewind way back, before the fame, before the movie deals, before the millions. Demi wasn't even old enough to vote when she first got married. Can you imagine that? 17 years old and walking down the aisle. Her first husband was Freddie Moore, a musician who, oh by the way, was 12 years older than her. 12 years. Just let that sink in for a second. She was barely out of high school and he was already deep into adulthood. But here's where it gets even more intense. Their relationship didn't start on the cleanest terms either. At the time Demi got involved with Freddie, he was still married to someone else. Yeah, you heard that right. She was a teenager having an affair with a married man, and then eventually she became his wife. Sounds like a scandal from a TV drama, right? Except this was real life. And if that's not dramatic enough, the night before her wedding to Freddie, Demi cheated on him. Yup, the night before saying I do, she slept with another guy. She later admitted that deep down, she didn't really want to go through with the marriage, but she felt trapped, like it was too late to back out. And honestly, haven't we all seen situations where someone makes a huge life decision because they're afraid of disappointing people or facing embarrassment? It's human, but it's also heartbreaking because you just know it's not going to end well. And, surprise surprise, it didn't. After about 4 years, the marriage ended in divorce. But in a weird way, that was just the warm-up act for the chaos that was coming next. After that chapter closed, Demi stepped into the Hollywood dating scene, and one of the first names that popped up in her story was Jon Cryer. Yep, the same Jon Cryer most people know as Alan from 2.5 Men. Back in the mid-80s, they worked together on a film called No Small Affair, and Jon was completely smitten with Demi. He admitted later that he was head over heels for her, like seriously infatuated. But when Demi wrote her book decades later, she dropped a bombshell that had Jon doing a double take. She said she thought she took his virginity. According to her, he seemed so inexperienced that she assumed their fling was his first time. Can you imagine finding that out decades later in a memoir? Jon eventually came forward and was like, not exactly. I wasn't a virgin, but thanks. Still, he admitted he was so into her that it probably felt like his first time all over again. It's kind of sweet in a way, but also a little awkward for him because, well, now the whole world knows. That relationship was short-lived, and soon Demi moved on to Emilio Estevez. Now, Emilio wasn't just some random guy. He was Hollywood royalty, part of the Brat Pack, son of Martin Sheen, and a big deal at the time. Their relationship got super serious, to the point where Emilio proposed and Demi said yes. It looked like wedding bells were ringing again, but just before they could say their vows, Demi discovered Emilio had been cheating on her. And that was it. Engagement over, wedding cancelled. Can you imagine being in love, planning a wedding, and then finding out the person you trusted most was unfaithful? That's crushing. But honestly, Demi later admitted calling it off was the right move because deep down, they weren't a great match. Still, that kind of betrayal leaves scars. Now, if you're thinking, wow, Demi's love life was intense already, oh no, we're just getting started. Because next came the relationship that would define her for years, Bruce Willis. When Demi and Bruce got together in 1987, it was like Hollywood had found its royal couple. They met, sparks flew instantly, and within 4 months, just 4 months, they were married in Las Vegas. Talk about a whirlwind romance. For a while, they looked like the perfect pair, both wildly successful, insanely famous, and genuinely in love. They had 3 daughters together, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah. And for the outside world, it looked like Demi had finally found her happily ever after. But here's the thing about Hollywood fairy tales. They almost always come with a dark side. Behind the scenes, things weren't as picture perfect as they appeared on those red carpets. Bruce, according to Demi, had very traditional views on marriage. He wanted her to stay home, focus on family, and basically put her career on the back burner. But Demi was at the peak of her fame. She had zero intention of slowing down, and why should she? She was dominating Hollywood at that point. This clash of priorities created tension, and over time, the cracks started to show. After 13 years together, they divorced in 2000. Now, to their credit, they handled the split like pros. They stayed friendly, co-parented their daughters, and even today, they seem to genuinely respect each other. That's rare in Hollywood, so props to them for that. Now let's talk about something Demi has been really open about, aging in Hollywood. When she hit her 40s, she admitted she started feeling like her value was slipping away, not just professionally but personally. And honestly, can you blame her? Hollywood has this cruel obsession with youth, especially for women. Actresses hit a certain age and suddenly the offers dry up while guys in their 50s and 60s are still playing romantic leads. That pressure can mess with your head, and Demi wasn't immune to it. She admitted that insecurity about aging and her worth played a big role in what happened next, a relationship that shocked the world and had the tabloids working overtime. Enter Ashton Kutcher. When Demi started dating Ashton in 2003, the media went absolutely nuts. He was 25, she was 40, and suddenly every headline was about their 15-year age gap. People were calling her a cougar, which is so ridiculous because when men date younger women, nobody bats an eye. But the second it's reversed, everyone loses their minds. Still, Demi and Ashton didn't seem to care. They looked happy. They looked in love. They got married in 2005, and for a while, they were Hollywood's golden couple, always in the spotlight, posting cute photos before Instagram was even a thing, making it seem like they were living the dream. But, like most things that look perfect on the outside, there was trouble brewing underneath. Demi desperately wanted to have a baby with Ashton. When she suffered a miscarriage early in their relationship, it shattered her. She described that loss as one of the most painful experiences of her life, and honestly, it's not hard to understand why. That grief pushed her into a dark place. She relapsed after years of sobriety, turning to alcohol and pills to numb the pain. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, it did. Because Ashton cheated on her, not once, but multiple times. Imagine the humiliation of that on top of everything else. Demi had given her heart completely to this man, fought against all the criticism, and in the end, she was left broken. They separated in 2011, and by 2013, it was officially over. Looking back at Demi's relationships, you can't help but notice the patterns, the whirlwind romances, the huge age gaps, the desperate need to feel loved and validated. In her book, she admitted something that really stuck with me. She often lost herself in relationships, molding herself into whatever she thought the other person wanted her to be. And honestly, how many people out there can relate to that? So many of us do the same thing, even if we're not living under the bright lights of Hollywood. But here's the thing that makes Demi's story so much deeper than just tabloid gossip. When you dig into her past, you see why she made some of these choices. She went through trauma as a teenager stuff that completely shattered her sense of self-worth. That kind of pain doesn't just disappear, it follows you. It whispers in your ear when you're trying to love someone, telling you you're not enough. When you understand that, Demi's story becomes less about scandal and more about survival, about a woman trying to fill a void in the only way she knew how. Today, Demi Moore is in a completely different place. She's stronger, she's wiser, she's brutally honest about everything she's been through, and that honesty makes her more relatable than ever. She's no longer defined by who she's dating or what the tabloids say. She's focused on herself, her kids, and her career on her own terms. And you know what? That's inspiring. Because at the end of the day, Demi's story isn't just about love and heartbreak, it's about resilience, it's about falling apart and finding a way to put yourself back together. And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that no matter how glamorous someone's life looks from the outside, everyone is fighting their own battles. So yeah, Demi Moore's love life has been messy, dramatic, and full of scandals, but it's also been human. And maybe that's what makes it so compelling. Because if even someone like Demi Moore, with all the fame and beauty and success in the world, can struggle to find love and happiness, maybe it's okay for the rest of us to admit we're still figuring it out too. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into Demi Moore's complicated journey, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more stories that dig beneath the surface. Because trust me, there's always more to the story than what you see on the surface.